So let's move on to the second. So that number one is you got to change your diet. So that's the number one fundamental thing that you can do to reduce the controllable points of stress. Remember, we're talking about stress management and stress relief. So diet's number one. Number two is sleep. This is another big one. Most people who struggle with chronic illness, one of the big problems they face is they just don't go to bed on time. And so this is a choice, 100%. Now, I know many of you may go to bed on time and you lie there and you're awake and you can't go to sleep because your mind's racing, because you're stressed out, because you're worried. That's a different bear altogether. We're going to talk about some strategies for that as well. But number one factor here to understand is that you heal between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. This is when your body does most of the work at healing and repairing and regenerating. So if you want to maximize your sleep, think of this as kind of your minimum window of time in which you need to be asleep. Don't get in bed at midnight and try to sleep till 8 because you're going to lose 50% of this window, and you don't want to do that. Research shows that this 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. window is when your body does most of the healing and repair. So if you're trying to heal and repair from chronic levels of stress, we need to maximize this window. Now, that being said, don't wake up at 2 in the morning and start your day, and don't climb in bed at 10. You want to try to prep for sleep. So plan on sleep the same way you'd plan on a vacation, the same way you'd plan on things in your life that you want to accomplish. Like put it in your schedule as something that's important enough for you to prioritize. So again, don't go to bed at 10 and wake up at 2, but at least be asleep during that 10 to 2 a.m. time frame. Now, there are a lot of things that can be done to improve or kind of to prep you for sleep. And so that's what we've got over here in this diagram here. You can see number one, prayer and meditation. Now, with prayer, this is a big one because, as I said earlier, what we're trying to do is control the factors that we can. And so what prayer kind of helps us tap into is to give up the things that we can't control to the higher power, right? So if you're a Christian, if you are a God-fearing Christian, this is praying to the higher power because some of those things you can't control, you've got to be able to give over. You've got to be able to give over. And I will tell you from experience, practice improves this very much. And many of you might also meditate. Meditation can also be very, very helpful. And I would couple this meditation with deep breathing exercises. And so one of the things I like to do when I'm lying in bed at night, getting ready, kind of prepping my body to go to sleep, is I like to do deep breathing exercises. And this is where I'll take deep breaths and I'll fill my diaphragm, not my chest, right? So when you breathe in, you want to fill your belly, basically. Breathe into your belly, fill it all the way up. And it should take you about 5 to 6 seconds to take that full breath and really, really fill your lung to capacity. Then you're going to hold that breath in for 2 to 3 seconds, and then you're going to slow release it over the course of another 5 seconds. This is a form of deep breathing that can just activate your sympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system. So you have think of it as two forms of nervous system. You have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic, and they're kind of like two kids on a teeter-totter. They should be in balance with each other. Your parasympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that's designed to help you rest, heal, digest, and repair. So if this part of your nervous system's not in tune with your body, and as is the case for many with chronic stress, then your digestion will suffer, which then your nutritional status will suffer, which will then affect your biochemistry and affect the quality of your sleep. Your rest will suffer, your repair, your ability to repair will also suffer because we rest, we digest, and we repair best when our nervous system can tap into parasympathetics, okay? We do our worst here when we're living in a sympathetic dominant state. The sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight nervous system. It's that same nervous system that's on when we're in chronic stress. This is, again, one of the reasons why chronic stress can be so detrimental. So deep breathing helps us tap into this. It actually helps activate something called the vagus nerve, which is the predominant nerve that helps to drive parasympathetic nervous system function. So deep breathing, very, very helpful. A clean diet, which we discussed a minute ago, and again, if we're very simply generalizing, no grain, right, no dairy, no sugar, would be a clean diet to get started with, or following no grain, no pain. In this regard, if you want, more direct guidance, that would be a great place to begin. No grain, no pain. Early morning sunlight. So let's move this over. We got get a little bit more room to write. So early morning sunshine, between the hours of about 9 and 11 a.m., depending on where you live. This is a really great time to get your sunshine. Now, you want to do this without sunglasses. I know many of you go outside and you want to put those sunglasses on right away because your doctors have told you that sunshine somehow destroys human health. We won't get into the depths of how wrong that is tonight, but you should know that you can tolerate sunlight on your eyes without damaging your eyes, and you should get some sunshine every single day. Now, you don't have to go out at the harshest time of the day and stare at the sun. That's not what I'm talking about, but there's some benefits to early morning sunlight, and one of the greatest ones is it helps your body maximize the production of melatonin. Now, melatonin is, as many of you probably heard, is the sleep hormone. It's the hormone that's made in your brain that helps get your body ready to go to sleep. It actually shuts down the part of your brain that is activated. And you want to understand that cortisol, as I was talking about earlier, and melatonin have kind of this alternating effect, whereas cortisol gets your brain and your body ready to go to sleep, and it keeps your body asleep during the night. Cortisol wakes your brain up and keeps your brain going, right? Because cortisol is a stress hormone, and when your body is under stress, what your body is basically saying is, there's danger, we need to deal with the danger, and when you're in danger, you're not trying to go to sleep. Whereas, again, melatonin helps your body relax and puts you in a sleep mode. Cortisol has the opposite effect. So if you have chronically high levels of cortisol, if you're taking steroids, corticosteroids for arthritis, or for asthma inhalers, those types of things, what you're really doing long term is you're elevating your blood sugar, increasing your risk for bone loss, for muscle loss, for diabetes, and you're disrupting your sleep in the long haul because you're imbalancing this melatonin-cortisol ratio. Again, sunlight helps your melatonin, helps maximize your melatonin production. And many people in today's world, look, they're inside all day, especially during this 2020 where everybody was scared and they were quarantining themselves and they were locking themselves away inside and hiding, not realizing that one of the most potent things that you could do is get UV exposure. UV exposure is antiviral, it's antibacterial, it helps you make vitamin D, it helps you make melatonin. And remember what I talked about last time, I talked about vitamin D, the actual, those of you who missed it, we just did a big story, a national story on Fox on the vitamin D levels being too low and having worse outcomes for people with colds and flus. So if you want the worst possible outcome of a cold or a flu, make sure you don't get adequate sunshine, because vitamin D is the consequence of good sunshine. And of course, that's going to help build your immune system and strengthen your immune system's ability to fight colds, flus, bacterial infections, and other things. So very important to get that sunshine. Now, it's important to understand that if you're using sunscreen, when you use something with an SPF in it, that stands for sun protection factor, and this is on any sunscreen, you'll see SPF, and there's generally a number, most sunscreens today are like 50 plus, but even cosmetics, women, a lot of your cosmetics are 15 plus SPF factor. If it's greater than 8, right, so if it's higher than 8, you're going to block vitamin D production by your skin. So if you're wearing a sunscreen and that sunscreen on your face and you're wearing a sunscreen on your arms, you're blocking the two areas that potentially can make the most vitamin D for you, and that's going to tend to lead to a vitamin D deficit state, which is going to alter your immune system, but it's also going to affect, it's going to affect your body's ability to maintain its own health. Vitamin D is not more important than just for the immune system. But anyway, we want that early morning sunlight for more than one reason, but two very big reasons are melatonin and vitamin D, both of which are very beneficial for your body's ability to fight infection, but both melatonin very critical for what we're talking about here, which is sleep. Okay, so let's make some room here. So next on the list is journaling. Now, some people, what happens, depending on what type of personality you have. Now, if you are a self-proclaimed type A, so if you're the kind of person that you have to have things in order, you have to have things perfectly done, and your mind is going to dwell on it until you have everything lined up, this really is going to match you. And this is journaling. Because what happens with a lot of people who are type A personalities is their mind is going to spin when they're lying in bed. It's going to be spinning on everything they have to do the next day. And so they're going to be that spinning creates a stress that doesn't allow for restful sleep. So one of the best things that you can do before you go to bed is to write in your journal. And my advice would be very, very simple. Write in your journal the list of things that you need to get done tomorrow. And do that right before you go to bed so that your mind can let it go. Otherwise, what happens is your mind is going to dwell on those things. So write a journal, and you can journal. There are other ways to journal too. We can journal about gratitude. So we can write a journal about all the great things that we accomplished today, or the things that you set out to accomplish that day. You can write about the success of accomplishing those things. You can also write about what you need to accomplish tomorrow and just keep a running log. And if you keep that there by your bed, it'll help your mind relax when it's time to go to sleep. Okay, moving on to the next. Do not work where you sleep. Now, this is very important because of the world that we live in today. COVID-19, or whatever you want to call it, COVID has created work at home for most people, right? And most people right now are working at home, working from home. And so their place where they should be able to go home and relax and let work go has actually become the very place where they're at work, right? So when home becomes work, it ceases to be an effective place for relaxation and sleep. Because as long as you're working from home, again, home becomes work is what you think about when you're at home. And generally, home is where we go to get away from work, right? To relax. So in this environment, we've created a new scenario where now work is at home. Therefore, we can't ever get away from it. And so I want you to understand that in this regard, maybe this is your case. Maybe you can't go to work. Maybe you don't have the ability to go to work. But your bedroom, okay, your bedroom should be your sanctuary. In other words, the work should not occur in your sanctuary. Your bedroom should be that one place that you can go, that you can relax, that you can remove yourself from the homework environment. And so you don't want to cross boundaries with that sanctuary that you want to create here. Now, if you have another bedroom in your house or another room in your house that you want to also make sanctuary, I mean, as many rooms in your house that you have that you can make a sanctuary. I mean, my advice, if you're working from home, have an office in the home that you can go into, or a set-aside area where that's where the work is done, that you're not working all over your house. That's, again, it's supposed to be your sanctuary where you can go to relax and not have to think about the work that you're doing. So, again, the not sleeping where you work, okay, so that your mind is dwelling on work when you're supposed to be dwelling on going to bed. Now, another part of this, the same thing is happening here as this COVID work from home, is electronics. You should turn off all electronics a couple of hours before bed. And one of the reasons why is the type of light, the light your electronics emit will basically trick your brain into thinking it's daytime, into thinking that it's supposed to be awake, okay? And so that light tricks the brain. So we want to shut that light off at least a couple hours before bedtime. So if you're one of those that, you know, you're checking your phone right before bedtime, or you're on your iPad or whatever you've got, whatever electronic device you've got, and you're doing that right before bedtime, it's a bad idea. Now, what some people do is they'll wear special glasses, or they'll put a special filter for the blue light on their device. But my advice to you is those things are fine, but what they really do is they give people the excuse to keep their brains alert. Because generally when you're checking your email, when you're checking your electronic device, when you're supposed to be preparing for bedtime, you're not really doing a great job of preparing for bedtime. You're doing a really good job of activating your brain to not be in a sleep mode. So my advice is put those things away, despite the light tricking the brain. Even if you've got special filters or glasses, that the electronics also stimulate the brain to continue to think and not think about sleep. Another thing that we can do here is sound therapy. Now, sound therapy, many people, some of you may have like tinnitus where your ears ring when you try to go to bed at night, and that makes it difficult. Now, some of you also may need something to just kind of help relax you, and this is where sound therapy can be very helpful. Sound therapy would be, for example, certain sounds, like sounds of the ocean, sounds of the beach, sounds of rainwater, sounds of a waterfall, sounds of something that brings you peace and contentment. And so it could be different for different people, but sound therapy might be something that's very, very helpful for you. They make the alarm clocks now with sound therapy devices built in them. So they also have, if you've got some of these different types of music apps on your devices, you can turn those things on and it can play a sound for you to help prep you for bed. So sound therapy can be very, very effective. Now, one thing that's not on here, and this just depends on the type of person you are, but some people do really, really well at falling asleep or helping themselves fall asleep if they'll read something before bedtime as well. So reading a book. I don't recommend reading something that's really ultra stimulating. So if you're reading a book that like really sparks your mind, that probably wouldn't be the greatest way to kind of calm down to get sleep. But reading a book that brings you peace and happiness. So whatever topics that you like to read, I personally like to read science fiction because it's not too involved in my mind and it just sometimes can help me go to sleep if I'm struggling. But whatever that looks like, reading can be a very, very helpful way to stimulate relaxation and calmness before bed, which can help you with sleep. Now, those are behavioral patterns. So these are all free. These are all things that you can do that really don't cost you anything. These are some things that can be very effective from a supplemental perspective, and I'm not being comprehensive. In essence, this is not a list of absolutely everything that can help with sleep, but it's a list of some of the things that can be super effective and cost effective. And so you'll see on the top of the list here, one of the things here is melatonin. Now, melatonin is supplementally can be taken and can work really, really great. But I recommend first and foremost doing this because this is going to help you make your own melatonin. This is not. This is going to provide a source of melatonin that helps your brain relax, but this is going to help you make your own. So always start here with the behavior modification before you jump to the supplementation. But melatonin, it's important with melatonin, especially if you're gluten sensitive, that you're looking for a supplement that doesn't have any gluten in it or doesn't have any potential for cross-contamination. The other thing I really like with melatonin is if you're going to use it, use a controlled release. You'll notice here it says controlled release melatonin, meaning that what happens, a lot of people take big bolus dose of melatonin right before they go to bed, and it's basically used up. So by the time it's 1 or 2 in the morning, they're waking up because that melatonin didn't last. So controlled release, if you're using melatonin, you're going to use it, take a controlled release version so that it lasts through the night to help keep your body in a sleep state. Now, you'll notice here there's different forms of magnesium. This is Clear Mag. This is a combination of calcium and magnesium, and this is just pure magnesium itself. Now, let's talk about some of the differences because magnesium can also be very helpful. Remember that magnesium is a natural muscle relaxer, okay, and calmative. It calms down the mind, it calms down the body. Now, if you're trying to calm down the mind, then a standard like magnesium citrate or magnesium glycinate or a Krebs chelate magnesium isn't going to work as effectively to calm down the mind for many people. You've got to take something that gets past the blood-brain barrier. That's what Clear Mag does. Clear Mag actually is bound to a special amino acid that is known to pass through the blood-brain barrier, so it delivers that magnesium to the brain, which is what we want to be calm when we're trying to go to sleep. So Clear Mag, if you're using a magnesium to help with sleep support, is the one I recommend the most because it's the most effective. Now, be cautious with it too, because if you're taking something like Clear Mag, what you'll notice initially is, you might actually start experiencing what I like to call ninja dreams, where you're experiencing such vivid dreams that the dreams themselves almost feel real. And for some people, that can be kind of scary, especially if it's a nightmare. So if you're starting on this type of magnesium, you might want to start and opt for a smaller dose and kind of work your way up so that you reduce that potential to have these, again, ninja type dreams. Calcium with magnesium sometimes is helpful for certain people. Now, where this one would be more helpful, so again, this one passes the blood-brain barrier. CalMag would be helpful if you have cramps. So if you go to bed at night and your feet and your toes or your calves are cramping up, or you're waking up after an hour of lying down and you've got to stand up and stretch your legs out, this is most likely going to be a better choice for you. Calcium and magnesium combine. That cramping, remember that cramping, it doesn't just occur in your skeletal muscles. It's also that same kind of cramping can occur in your blood vessels, can occur in the muscles of your GI tract, and create all kinds of havoc. So the calcium and the magnesium combination is a better option for you if you find yourself waking up or jumping out of bed with cramps. Okay, so if that's something that's keeping you awake, you'll want to use that. And then some people find that ClearMag is just too strong, and so if you find that that's too strong, then this is your other option for a great source of magnesium, again, that can work as a calmative and as a muscle relaxer and as a kind of an agent to help get you relaxed. So there are other things here, certainly. I mean, there are other herbals, and there are like lemon balm and chamomile and passion flower are all options here as well. As there's certainly, these are not just the only things that can help kind of calm and relax the body to get it ready for sleep, but these are probably the best and most effective. Now, additionally, essential oils can also be a great way to kind of calm down. So essential oil for sleep, one of the best ones is lavender. Lavender can be very relaxing and very calming before bedtime. So essential oils, what some people do is they'll put a little essential oil on the pillow, spray a little bit on the pillow, and that kind of helps them when they lie their head down on that pillow to kind of be calm and relaxed. So again, these are, even though essential oils are, I mean, you can supplement with them orally, but this is probably better done with a diffuser or applying application on the sheets or on the pillow itself directly. So again, these are my sleep tips for those of you who struggle with getting that sleep quality on a day-to-day basis. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.